everyone, and welcome to TRYGESIS Thursday for, what is today? The 23rd of January, 2025. This is Thursday, so it's time for our newsletter, our weekly newsletter. And we've been pretty good about getting these uploaded. This is our third one of the year. So, volume 2, number 3. And today we're going to talk questions and answers. So we've got some really good questions that have been asked of us, and so Swift has actually answered a couple of the questions, or a few of the questions, maybe 4 questions, by video. So he sent those clips to me, and I'm going to cut those into this newsletter, so you get to hear Swift answer a few questions, and I'm going to answer some that have also been sent in, and we'll get to that in a minute. I do want to mention that we are still promoting JG's newest song, Not Me. It's a new recording, it's an old song, but it's on our Facebook page, it's on YouTube, it's on Patreon, it's on Spotify and all the other streaming services, so you can check that out. There should be a link in the description. If not, just go to TRYGESIS.com and you can hear that and the other songs on our website. In a couple weeks, we will be releasing a new single, but we'll talk about that more next week. And I wanted to start off the video with a little promo that I don't get paid for, but it is for a friend of mine because it's a friend of mine, Tom Lalios, who owns the Deadly Grounds coffee brand. And Tom's a video editor and filmmaker and coffee entrepreneur from Connecticut. I've known Tom for many years, and I really love this little commercial or promo he did for his coffee, and I want to include it in my video today, even though we're not getting any remuneration for it, but just I like the coffee. And yeah, so here I'll play that clip I will play that clip right now.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for, and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Okay, that was pretty cool. So let's start off first with the clip from Swift. He's going to discuss the instrumentation he uses and how to use it on songs and etc. So enjoy that clip.
Every bit as important as the song itself is the instrumentation you choose to put on that song. It may not be the thing you anticipate in your mind. Try everything. I became a recent huge fan of tremolo lead guitar out of the blue, and I'm kind of making it a trademark thing now where I use it in almost every song. I've always loved 12-string guitars. I've owned at least 4 of them and always sell them, and then I want another one because the sound is so fantastic on some of the songs I write. I like the standard acoustic and electric guitar together, but the addition of tremolo gives my songs a whole different feel than they ever had before. I've used to use, in the old rock days, fuzz box, wah-wah pedal. Then I got an effects box. Try everything. I found it a good chorus flange, kind of reverb mix, a little bit of echo, and tremolo. It's what I keep ending up with. Every once in a while I need to go off track and get something totally unique, but I come back to the same old things once in a while. Again, the instrumentation, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, drums and bass. Boy, you can't go wrong with that. And you can go back, way back to Creedence Clearwater, or move up through Sheryl Crow, go back again through Beatles, Badfinger, and Stones. Acoustic guitar and electric guitar together worked wonders. Not every song. Break it up, never do the same thing twice. Try Eleanor Rigby. Anyway, check your instrumentation. If you've never played with a keyboard player, which I haven't, try it. I'll do that next. The end.
Okay, that was Swift. And the first question I'm going to answer today is, what inspires you most when writing a song? Okay, that's hard to say because it sort of just, a lot of times it just happens. I'll play a chord, I'll try to sing a melody, and I'll wait for the melody to sort of appear until wait. There's usually a creative spark that happens, and I sing a melody and I say, oh yeah, that's good. And then I sort of take it from there, and I'll stop and I'll listen to the song in my head without playing anything or without singing, just listen to it. And then I sort of let the song tell me where it should go next. And, so that's kind of how I get inspired to write a song. But you know, I draw from past experiences too, like when I was a kid growing up, or situations that happened. Sometimes I listen to other people's music. I get an idea for a song from what they've written about. So yeah, inspiration can come from anywhere. I can't say anything inspires me the most because it's just, if I knew what inspired me most, I guess I would keep using that same technique over and over. But, so yeah, I guess just writing, hitting a chord, singing a melody, that's probably the basis of my songwriting. Do you have a favorite place or routine when creating music? Yeah, usually it's in a small space. So when I was a kid, I wrote in my bedroom, and when I'm back in Ohio today, I write in my bedroom. When I was living in my apartment in Connecticut, my first apartment, I sat at the kitchen table, and I liked that space too. It was kind of compact, but everything I needed was within reach. The coffee, the microwave, all those little things that sort of make you comfortable. And then when I moved to my house in Connecticut, we had a nice little sunroom that was I really enjoyed sitting in and just writing music in that sunroom. It was a small space. So something about small spaces. I think it was, I don't know who said it. Was it Einstein maybe? Or Thomas Jefferson? Someone like that. Ben Franklin, I don't know. He said small spaces or small rooms create big thoughts. I think that's probably true because maybe there are fewer distractions and you can sort of get into a meditative state. Not sure. Can you tell me the story behind one of your favorite songs you've written? Let's see. I guess the favorite song I've written to date is my most recent one. That's usually the case. And the story behind it is I read a book called Leaving by Roxanne Robinson. And it's about a man who has to make an impossible choice. No matter what he decides, the outcome is going to be bad. And since he can't, if he does nothing, it's also a bad outcome. So that's that's the story about my favorite song, the story behind my favorite song. But it's also based on the book. The song also draws from the book Sophie's Choice and The Red Shoes by Hans Christian Andersen. Because the common theme in all of those is there's an impossible decision that has to be made and there's no good outcome. So that seemed like a pretty good topic for a song. I mean, like I said, so far it's my favorite that I've written. How do you usually start writing a new song? Do you start writing the lyrics, the melody, or something else? I guess for me it's I hit a chord or find a chord progression that I like and I put a melody over it sort of simultaneously with just random nonsense words. Sometimes those words stick, and sometimes I change them. But for me, it usually starts with the chord and the melody and nonsense lyrics. I've tried writing the melody, singing a melody, and then finding the chords for it. That never seemed to work for me. I've looked at other people's lyrics or my own lyrics and tried to build a song around it, and that never worked because my phrasing is always different than in the song, the lyrics. And if I try to make the melody fit the lyrics, it just never, these too much reworking of the lyrics, and the lyrics, they kind of lose their meaning, or they lose their, not the meaning, the vision. So that never works. So yeah, for me, it's just write the melody with the chords first, and then I take it from there. Okay, what's the biggest challenge you face when creating new music? Well, it's getting that initial spark. Some days it comes easily, right away. Other days it's like pulling teeth. It just takes forever. Or you can't find a note. You just give up and you just have to, I think Bukowski said it, either you wait patiently for it to come, and if it never comes, then, stop waiting, because it's either there or it isn't. Now, I read a couple of good books recently on creating music, and I can't think of the gentleman's name. One was written by Matt Farley, the other guy was helped Johnny Cash record that 9 Inch Nails song. Can't think of his name right now. Anyway, big time producer. But the message was there are an infinite amount of songs in the universe. You just have to find one, or maybe create one. But they're out there. You just gotta keep looking, keep searching. So there's really no reason not to be able to write, unless your frame of mind is not right. If you're not in the right frame of mind, it's going to be very difficult. But if you're open and you let things happen, that is then the challenge is not so great. Do you collaborate with others often, or do you prefer to work solo? I prefer to work solo, to write the basic song. Once it's written, then I don't mind collaborating, especially on lyrics. Usually I finish the entire song musically and melodically, and then I collaborate on the lyrics if I can't find the right words. Like in my song Loretta, Swift wrote a couple of lines that are really good, and JG made a suggestion on one line. Excuse me. And my friend Mark Kramer gave me a good suggestion. I had this silly line, I've always been in love with you. I said, Mark, that is just kind of mundane. He said, well, what about I've always been hung up on you? I said, oh, that's much better. So it's a simple suggestion, but it worked in that song because it's about a couple, man and woman, who are kind of losers. And something about hung up on you was better than I love you. It sort of fit the song better. And then I'll collaborate, say, on the arrangement. I had asked Andy Black to write some Beach Boys style harmonies for one of my songs. I think will be our next single, Flip Flop Girl. Andy did a great job on his harmonies. So yeah, there is different types of collaborations, but generally I start out solo, and then I have people help me polish it. So let me just continue here with these other questions before I cut in Swift's, or maybe I'll put him earlier in the video, I'm not sure yet. What made you want to become a singer-songwriter? Well, that was pretty easy for me. I loved music. Since I was a little kid, I would sing along with the radio and listen to records constantly. Couldn't wait for, She Loves You to come on the radio. I was always disappointed. I never played that song enough. I was so happy when I finally got the record, I could play it over and over and over. And then, so I would just sing along with these songs. I would sometimes change the lyrics. I would add my own melodies. And I was never a virtuoso musician, where I wasn't like this phenomenal guitarist or a phenomenal keyboard player. I was competent, but not phenomenal. And I could sing pretty well. So I decided, well, it probably makes sense to be a singer-songwriter rather than a virtuoso, because it's a lot easier for me to be to sing and write than it is to actually play the instrument. So that's how I got started. Also, another important point is that when I took piano lessons as a kid, that's about probably 13, 14, 15, I studied with a man named Bruce Snyder. He lives in Salem, and he was excellent. But I remember playing this piece for sheet music, and I changed the melody line, or changed one note, I guess it was. And when I got done, he says, well, that was good, but you didn't play that note. And I said, well, it sounds better the way I play it. It sounded better to me. And he kind of chuckled, but he didn't correct me. He let it go, which I really appreciated, that he just said, well, you got to play it the way the sheet music says. So I don't know why. I wish I knew what that piece was to see if I still felt the same way today. But and then there's another man who's a friend of my father's. His name was Steve Naviosky. An excellent musician, as I recall. He played at my sister's. He put a band. Steve, I believe, put a band together for my sister's wedding. And I remember talking to Steve one time on the street. I think I ran into him or something. We were talking and chatting about music. And I don't know how we got on the topic of songwriting, but we were talking about cover bands and bands who write songs. And he says, well, what do you want to be remembered as? The guy who played in the cover band or a guy who wrote the songs? And that always stuck with me. I said, yeah, you know what? I don't really enjoy playing other people's music too much. I mean, I enjoy playing Swifts and JGs because they wrote it and no one else has heard it. But to go out and play a Beatles song or something, it might be okay, but I wouldn't want to do it every night, night after night. I'd rather write songs on my own and play them. That's a lot more fun. Other people may not think so, but for me that works. Okay, my battery just died, so that's probably a signal that I need to stop talking and let Swift do some talking. So he's gonna, in this video, Swift is gonna talk about gig checklist.
This time I have something to say that I've been teaching my students who want to be in bands. A gig checklist. You think you'll remember it, you won't. It just takes one missing battery, cable, cord to ruin your whole show. Make sure you have enough transportation for everybody, to and from. Make sure your equipment will fit in the car. I knew a guy who played double bass. He owned a sports car. It flew out of the front seat once on the way to a gig because they had to drive with the top down on the freeway. Another time it was in the hot Florida sun, in the car, and the glue melted and the thing exploded into 100 pieces. So things seem obvious like that aren't necessarily. A flashlight. I've lost a cable inside a bass guitar or the switch, and you want to try fishing one of those out, not being able to see. Also brings up tweezers, a screwdriver, both kinds, large and small, Phillips and regular, flathead. Tape. Oh, you never know when you're going to have to hold cables down so people don't trip on them or pull them out of your amp. Extension cords, adapters. Nothing like showing up to a gig and you can't plug in. I've had it happen where the power wasn't even on. So make sure that's set up in advance. A tuner. You know, if you got a keyboard or player, you can tune up to the piano, but otherwise, try to tune up accurately with yourselves. Extra sets of strings, seems obvious, but sometimes they're costly. So, effects pedals. What do I got here? Sunglasses. Sometimes you ever have the white lights in your eyes? It looks cool too, but that's not the main reason. But you got to be able to see. Let's see, your amp. I've seen guys show up and forgot their amp, of all things. Yeah, merch. If you got some music to sell or shirts, either think about taking it and making it, or don't forget it if you do. A camera, have somebody film your show, or just take still shots. It's always, a once in a lifetime thing. Every gig is a one-off and unique, and you never know when the magic picture might become, they don't make CDs anymore, an album cover of some sort. Let's see, I record every show, and the camera and the business cards, they used to be a thing, maybe not so much now. But make sure everybody can get to the gig. That's very important.
Okay, so this question is, which of your songs feels the most important to you and why? Well, I would say that's all the songs on my first record called Beat Pioneer, because it kind of was what my life was all about up to that point. It was a coming of age record. It was kind of had a theme. I wanted to write a rock opera. I love Tommy, I love Quadrophenia, Jesus Christ Superstar, and I had this idea that I could actually write a rock opera. Well, that was a little bit too ambitious, so I cut it back to one record. And actually, the same thing happened to Pete Townsend. He had another rock opera of mine, but he cut it back and just made the album Who's Next, took the best songs from his rock opera, and made one little album. And it turns out Who's Next may be the greatest rock album of all time, in my opinion. But anyway, I pared the songs down to just 10 songs in Beat Pioneer. It's about my experience. Basically it's about a young man coming of age and going out and finding his way in the world. But it was based on all those road trips I took as a kid with my father and my family on vacations to Colorado and Wyoming and Montana. Long trips through Nebraska on Interstate 80 or Route 30. And those really made a big impression on me. And then I read Jack Kerouac's, On the Road, and The Beat Generation. And so that pioneer spirit, that go west young man, that's kind of where I got the idea for Beat Pioneer. Of course, the Beatles and the beat of music, so those all kind of tie together. So yeah, those songs on Beat Pioneer, they're all personal. When I got out of college, I moved to the East Coast, and I wanted to work in New York City. In the record, the young man actually goes to the West Coast, but it's the same thing. You leave home, you go find your way in the world. The next question is, how do you hope your music connects with your audience? Well, I hope it connects with my audience the same way other music and songwriters connects to me. And that is when you hear that great song, it just makes maybe the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Like the first time I heard Thunder Road by Springsteen, that was a pretty powerful song, pretty powerful moment. All the Bob Dylan songs were so great. Burt Bacharach, he kind of wrote those great love songs in the 60s and 70s. So I just hope that when I write a song, it affects somebody the same way those great songs affected me. Who are your biggest musical influences? Well, I think this is a good time to take a break and let Swift tell you about his biggest musical influences.
I was asked who are my biggest influences, and I realized immediately that my favorite bands are not my biggest influences. They're not two totally different things. The Beatles, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Byrds, Yardbirds. I listen to them for them, don't feel any competition or need to mimic them in any way. So I get to just enjoy them. The people that biggest influences are people that are totally unlike me, and I'm not their biggest fan. I'm not a big follower of John Prine, but I get a vibe from his lyric writing that does inspire me to write things I wouldn't write otherwise. Ways of turning a phrase or using incongruous adjectives. but making it work and making adjectives rhyme with adjectives and pronouns rhyme with pronouns, titles. So your favorites aren't necessarily going to be your influences. They aren't in my case. Everything would sound like the Beatles and Zeppelin. Ta-da!
All right, thanks, Swift. Okay, so who were my biggest influences? Well, gotta start with the Beatles because they more or less changed the whole culture. But also another band on the record label was Badfinger, and I'm a huge fan of Badfinger. I love that power pop sound. So I've been listening to them since I was a kid, and I still listen to them this day. And of course, Pete Townsend of The Who, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. I love all those guys as songwriters, and throwing Burt Bacharach, the guys from The Squeeze, the guys from Fountains of Wayne, Jellyfish, did I say Smithereens? Anyway, a bunch of people. But and John Prine recently, he's became a big influence. As a kid, I didn't play him, but as I got older, I started really understand what he was all about. So that was a big influence. How has your style evolved since you started writing music? Well, when I first started, my songs were pretty simple. I didn't know a lot about songwriting, but pretty basic chords, pretty basic melodies, basic words, moon, June, spoon, that type of rhyming. But as I got older, I really did study the craft of songwriting, and I tried to make the words more interesting and the chord progressions more interesting. And throw in some spicy chords, that maybe were in a different key, etc. So, yeah, so it just became, like anything, you grow as you get older and you get better. Let's see, what else is this? If you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be and why? Well, that's pretty simple. I collaborate right now with JG, Swift, and my friend Mark Kramer. And, I'm pretty happy with that. I can't think of anybody I really like to collaborate with off the top of my head. I mean, I could throw out some names, wouldn't that be cool to collaborate with Paul McCartney, but I don't know, I'm not so sure. Maybe at one time I was interested in that, but today, I'm just I like my small circle of friends. What's the most memorable moment? This course I can't see. What's the most memorable moment you've had as a performer? Well, I think I would have to say it's a negative moment. It's a gig we got when we were about 18 or 19 years old at a sort of a campground, and we had just put a band together, and we only knew maybe one or two songs, if that. But a friend said, "Hey, there's a gig available. I referred you guys." So fools that we were, we took the gig, and it was horrible, and I hated every minute of it. But we were awful. We had to fake like we knew songs. We didn't know any songs. It was bad. It was really, really, really bad. But the amazing thing was they actually paid us. So that was nice of them. I think we had 3 people in the audience, so it was just for the kids, this show. So, and the kids, we interacted with them, so maybe we gave them their money's worth in that sense, that we had a good time giving them our attention. But I would never do that again. If I'm not prepared 100%, I don't walk in front of that microphone. Now, we do rehearse with JG, Swift, and Kevin McElvain. We do the open mic, so we're not 100% perfect. We try and do things, and it's sort of a place to experiment. But if it was a paying gig, it has to be almost perfect before I walk on that stage. What advice would you give to someone starting out in music? Oh, before I answer that, Swift has a video this week about being prepared. So I'm going to cut that video in right now.
Here's a topic: be prepared, not just for yourself, but for everybody else in the band, if you have a band, or even more importantly, an unexpected drop-in, maybe somebody you've admired for a while and hoped to get to jam with, and they suddenly show up. You better be ready. Have something for them. As far as band rehearsals, if I don't sing a song for 2 weeks, it's gone. I keep going over it at home. I also keep files, notebooks of songs we're working on in case I need to refer to a chord I missed or some lyrics I forget. Here's a couple. John has a couple going, new ones we're working on, Wishing Me and Dark Leaves right here. I'm ready to work on those. If somebody shows up, we've had a bass player, Kevin, coming in, and a drummer, Doug, and another drummer or two have tried out, and you better know some songs to play. Just be prepared, not for yourself, but for them too. I've got extra sheets for the bass and chords, lyrics. Boy, do we need a singer to replace me. Anyway, be prepared. I was a Cub Scout, but that's nothing to do with this. So, Happy New Year.
Okay. Thank you, Swift. Did I get all his today? We have his biggest influences, instrumentation, being prepared, and the gig checklist. So those are his 4 videos. So what advice would you give to someone starting out in music? I think the most important advice I could give is the advice that was given to me when I was starting out. And that is, if you want to be in the music business, you learn everything you can about business or everything you can about music. And that was given to me by a man named Mr. Schwartz. I forget Mr. Schwartz's first name. Might have been Howard Schwartz from Chapel Music. And he was like the president. He's pretty high up. He actually was nice enough to respond to me. And the advice he gave was, learn everything you can about music or everything you can about business. And he said, as far as my songwriting, I needed to do a great deal more listening and writing. And so maybe I was 22, 23 at the time when he sent me that letter. But those points always stuck with me. And so that's the advice I'd share with a young musician starting out. And lastly, how would you balance, or how do you balance the creative side of songwriting with the business songwriting? Well, we kind of went over that last week in our video, Art versus Commerce, and the week before that on artistry. Maybe last week was artistry. And we touched on art versus commerce in both of the last 2 weeks. So yeah, the key is, if you're going to be a songwriter, at least for me, my key is don't worry about the money. Just write the songs you like. Be true to yourself. I can't try to write a hit song. It just doesn't work. I just try to write a song that appeals to me, the type of music I like to listen to. Funny story, JG and I were living in Salem. I was about 18 years old, just out of high school, and there's a store, a retail store in downtown Salem called the Jean Scene. So I decided I was going to write a jingle. I wanted to get into jingle writing. So I wrote a jingle for the Jean Scene. We thought maybe we could sell it to them or get it on the radio or something. I had no idea how the business worked. But, so I wrote it, and JG and I recorded it, and it was pretty bad. I mean, the performance was good. It's just that trying to write a jingle for a product is just, it was very difficult, and I didn't really enjoy it, but I did. Maybe that first time I enjoyed it because it was fun, but I wouldn't want to do it for a living. It just was not that rewarding to me artistically. So when I write songs and I pour my heart into it, it's what I want to do, it's what I want to write about, then that means a lot more than trying to write for commercial purposes. I just don't enjoy that. And, so that's how I balance it. I don't worry about the money, and I'm at the point in my life where I don't have to worry about money. I'm retired, so just that's nice because it takes the pressure off. I can just write what I want, whenever I want, as often as I want. And that's I think that for me is the key. Now, if you're a young songwriter, you're working and you got to make a living, then maybe you have to think about catering to your audience more. I don't know. That's I guess everyone has to decide for themselves, but that's works for me. Okay, let me check on my list, see if I got everything. Yeah, so next week we'll do one more newsletter before our next single comes out. In the meantime, we're trying to promote the song Not Me. And as I said, you can check it out on Facebook, Spotify, on my Facebook webpage, that is. Spotify, Patreon, YouTube, other streaming services. And hope you enjoy it. That's all for today. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.